I went fishing in the same pool of lake where my friend disappeared several years ago. All this time I could not forget him, and decided to unravel the mystery of his disappearance. As soon as I threw the fishing rod into the water, I felt a strange underground current that was dragging my boat deeper into the lake. I tried to direct it back, but the force of the current was too strong. I soon discovered that the boat was leading me to an underwater cave hidden under the water. Not wanting to miss the chance to solve the mystery, I plunged into the water and swam to the cave. Underwater, I was overcome with a feeling of horror when I saw the skeletons of people stuck in the seaweed. I realized that these were those who had disappeared on the lake, including my friend. My heart sank in horror, but I continued to move forward. In the cave, I discovered a sunken boat in which lay the body of my friend. His eyes were wide open and his face expressed horror. I realized that he was a victim of something sinister that was hiding in this cave. Fighting back tears, I grabbed his body and swam back to the surface. But as I swam, something strong grabbed my leg and pulled me back into the cave. I realized that it was the same creature that took the lives of my friend and other unfortunate people. I fought for survival, breaking free from its grip, but the monster was too strong. It dragged me deeper and deeper under the water, into the darkness of the cave, where the skeletons of those who had died before testified to its cruelty. When I already felt that I would lose consciousness from lack of air, I suddenly felt that something warm and soft was enveloping me. It was my friend's hand that helped me get out of the monster's grip. With his help, I was able to get to the surface and reach the shore. We both got out of the water and I hugged my friend, thanking him for saving me. We managed to survive, but the mystery of the lake remained unsolved, and we both vowed never to return here again. I went fishing alone to enjoy the peace and tranquility of nature. When I arrived at the lake, everything seemed perfect. The water was calm, the birds were chirping, and the silence was only broken by the noise of my fishing rod. But as the sun began to sink below the horizon, I felt that something was wrong. There was a strange tension in the air, and I felt as if someone was watching me. Suddenly, the water began to boil and move, as if something huge was trying to break out to the surface. I felt horror and vague fear, but my curiosity took over and I decided to look into the water. What I saw made me scream in horror. From the depths of the lake arose a huge monster, similar to a fish, but with sharp teeth and ominous eyes. It jumped out of the water and rushed straight at me. I dropped everything and ran, but the monster was faster. It overtook me and grabbed my leg with its sharp teeth. I felt fiery pain and screamed in horror. It was impossible to escape from the monster's deadly grip. I felt his teeth penetrate deep into my flesh, and the blood flooded my consciousness. But in a last desperate attempt to escape, I grabbed the fishing rod that was nearby and hit the monster in the eyes. The monster screamed in anguish and let go of me, allowing me to escape its grip. Pain and blood prevented me from running, but I still continued to move without turning around. Through pain and fear, I reached the shore of the lake, where I fell on the sand, exhausted from loss of blood. The monster stood on the water, emitting ominous sounds and threatening me, but I knew I had to get out of here while I still could. I got to my car and left this damn place, but the nightmares about the monster returned to me every night. I knew it wasn't just a dream. I knew the monster was still out there, waiting for its next victim. A group of friends went fishing to a remote lake deep in the forest. They set up camp on the shore and soon began fishing. Night fell and everything around became quiet and gloomy. One of the fishermen, Jake, decided to go for a walk through the forest to find a convenient place to use the toilet. He walked away from the camp and walked deeper into the forest until he heard strange sounds behind him. He turned around and saw a dark figure standing in the shadow of the trees. Jake felt a chill run down his spine and decided to head back to camp. But along the way, he heard footsteps following him. He began to run, but the shadow came closer and closer to him. Suddenly, he stumbled and fell, seeing the masked face of a stranger in front of him. Jake screamed and tried to defend himself, but the stranger was stronger. He hit him on the head and Jake lost consciousness. When Jake came to, he found himself tied up and imprisoned in an old shack in the woods. The stranger stood in front of him, holding a knife in his hand. He began to tell Jake about his sinister intentions to use him as a sacrifice for his dark ritual. Jake realized that he was in mortal danger and tried to convince the stranger to let him go, promising that he would not tell anyone about what had happened. The stranger just laughed and approached Jake with a knife in his hand. At that moment, Jake noticed that there was an old torch in the corner of the shack. He quickly broke free from the ropes and grabbed a torch, lit it, and threw it towards the stranger. The fire flared up, illuminating the dark shack, and the stranger screamed in pain as he tried to put out the flames on his clothes. Jake took advantage of the moment and ran out of the shack, rushing into the forest, running away from his pursuer. He ran without looking back until he reached the shore of the lake, where his friends were already waiting. Jake told them about his terrible adventure, and they left the place together, swearing to themselves never to return. Since then, Jake and his friends have told this terrible story to everyone who wants to hear it, warning against the dangers that can lurk in dark and abandoned places.